A Question of Sports. Sam Quek has admitted she feels a lot of responsibility as the show's first ever female captain ahead of joining Monye on the revamped panel. Speaking exclusively to Mail Online, the duo said they were gobsmacked after being approached by bosses to take over from Matt Dawson and Phil Tufnell as captains after they were axed from the show last year. Joining Olympic hockey champion Sam and retired rugby star Ugo will be Question of Sports new host Paddy McGuinness, who told Mail Online that fans can expect a range of different games and challenges when the show begins next week. Speaking ahead of the new series' first episode, Sam said, "I was absolutely buzzing, just gobsmacked because the talks have been going on for quite a while, but then I'm a firm believer it's not sealed until it's signed on the dotted line. Just proud and also am aware being the first female captain has a lot of responsibility, little bit of pressure of ultimately a lot of excitement." Discussing their dream guests, Sam said, "I'm a massive Liverpool fan, but it's such a huge show. The majority of people we've had on are proper sporting royalty. Chris Hoy, one of the most successful Olympics, is such a nice guy, and so knowledgeable. I'd love Serena Williams for me is the ultimate athlete, and I'm a massive fan of NFL, so a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes to get them on there as well. Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman, when I was younger and used to play football in the garden, my brother was Robbie and I was Steve. I never think he'd be in this position to meet people on this journey. Playing golf with Robbie, when I used to work on LFC TV, just a casual chat with Steve, Michael Owen, these were the people who had posters on my wall growing up." Ugo added, "It's nuts because a lot of the guests we've had on this series I've never met before, and now I've worked with them, you know who they are and appreciate all they've achieved. I've been fortunate enough to have some team guests where I'm like you'd be the perfect person, but also we've had some non-sporting people on this as well, like Anton Dubeka, who by the way is one of the most knowledgeable people about sports and the eras of sports in my whole life, and that new era just adds so much. Sports should be available to everyone, it can't just be a game show for elite sports. We'd love to captivate absolutely everyone who wants to have a bit of fun. We've been on Zoom for 18 months and everyone has done a sports quiz at some point, everyone. If I had a wish list, The Rock DB class, wouldn't he? I'd love Ian Wright on it because I grew up wanting to play for Arsenal. Alison Felix, I think she's phenomenal." Meanwhile, Paddy said that the inclusion of celebrity guests who aren't directly involved in sport will bring a new dynamic to the show. He said, "Not everyone who will be watching Question of Sport will be an absolute sports fanatic. They want to see a bit of banter, a bit of jokes and a nice Friday night show. When you've trained to achieve a certain goal, we try to make them feel as relaxed as possible, but they might not be as willing to jump around. But the non-sports people are more than willing to get involved with the games, but it's just a little bit of a different dynamic, so you don't have to be a stato to enjoy the show." Paddy also revealed he was approached by BBC bosses to ask if he'd be interested in hosting the show, after taking over as Top Gear's frontman in 2019. He explained, "The strangest thing for me was, I got a call from the powers that be at the BBC asking if I'd be interested, so we had a good chat about it. It's a heritage show, you've got to have a little bit of a think about it, because you want to get it right. So I had this random call about it, and then it kind of went on for a week or so, just backwards and forwards chatting, because I was aware that Sam and Ugo were in and around people doing the job. I'm saying to the person I was speaking to what's happening with it all, because I don't really feel like what's going on at the minute, and I didn't want to say anything because I knew there were other people milling around, so myself, Sam and Ugo got on Zoom chat, and we just had a chin wag really, and I kind of did an impromptu sports quiz for them. So we did that, and then I can't remember what it was a few days later where they said, right, do you want to do it? And I said, of course I do. I think for me it was so good getting the chance to speak to Ugo and Sam, even though it was virtually. I've known Sam throughout the years through various different shows. I've never met Ugo before, so just having a chat, the three of us, I knew instantly it's something there, and I know it can build into someone. I think once they watch a few episodes and see how the dynamic changes, and the other players that were on as well, I think they'll relax and they'll enjoy it. Patty also hinted that fans can expect new challenges when the show returns, alongside old favorites such as Mystery Guest and the famous Buzzer Round. He added, throughout that 50 years Terry's been new rounds introduced at some point. Terry's a bit more getting involved for the captains, a bit more getting out behind the desk, plus we go out of the studio for VTs, for captains challenges, so that's really nice and that's fresh, but it still feels a part of that half hour, so it's new and it's fresh, but not new and fresh where people are thinking I don't recognize the show. Ugo added, I've always said the show is still very familiar. I think at the heart of Question of Sport, regardless of who's captain, the show is Question of Sport and will outlast all of us. I think it's important to be respectful of that and what they're used to. There is a new dimension to it, like Patty said, talking about getting up on the studio floor. I think there has been an added dimension, it feels a bit more 4D. We had a few days at Lenny Shaw, but even going off-site, the result and those challenges just filter back into that studio, because the studio is the home of Question of Sport and centers around what is a sports quiz, so although it is familiar, it's different. You've got some new faces, some new games on it, and that's quite exciting. Patty mentioned the evolution of Question of Sport. I think people are quick to forget how it had evolved as a show. New games had come in to bring in the best of the captains and the presenters, and I guess that's what they've tried to do this time around as well. Last year Sue Barker, 65, was axed as the host of the BBC series after 24 years, and ex-England footballer Alex Scott, 36, was rumoured to be taking over her role. However, it was confirmed last month that Patty would be taking over the role. In September, Sue admitted she was sad to say goodbye to a Question of Sport. She said, I love the show so much they would have to remove me. It would have been tough for me to walk away. I've absolutely loved my 24 years fronting a Question of Sport. It's been my dream job. But I understand the BBC want to take the show in a new direction and am sad to say goodbye. Matt wrote on Twitter, thanks for all the lovely messages. I'm not sure how to respond, so I'll have a think. Needless to say, I will miss at Question of Sport immensely. Sickphil tweeted, 13 years at Question of Sport has been a great part of life. Going to miss it hugely. Thanks so much for all the lovely messages. A Question of Sport returns on Friday, 3rd of September at 7:35 p.m. on BBC One and BBC iPlayer.